quick edit as I was making this video. I had such a hard time pointing out 10 that I ended up doing a top 15. Alrighty, so I'm gonna try to do the toughest video I could do, and that's trying to narrow down my 10 favorite games for the generation on Xbox One. For starters, I'm not going to include remasters and remakes, because I think that's fair. Older games that were resold to us versus a game that that was built for the generation. However, I will count a cross-generation game like Watch Dogs, for example, Watch Dogs 1, as I feel that's an Xbox One game and not a 360 game. And then vice versa, I won't be counting a cross-generation game for next gen like Watch Dogs Legions, because it's a game that's never going to touch my Xbox One anyway. So to me it's a next gen game. Just a handful of ground rules before I get into this, because this is tough. I've played a lot of great games, so trying to narrow it down to 10 is going to be hard as hell, but I feel confident in this list. All right, at number 15, I went with Dishonored 2. Dishonored 2 is a absolutely great stealth-styled first-person game. The powers in it are so unique and fun. Dishonored 2 is what shot Dishonored as a franchise into one of my favorites, because that game, it really blew me away. And I'm so glad that the devs, Arcane Studios, are under the Xbox Games family now. At number 14, Forza Motorsport 7. Forza Motorsport 7 was my favorite racing game all generation. I even played it more than Forza Horizon 3 and 4, which are the best open world racers ever, basically. But I went with Motorsport because it was one of the first games I played on the Xbox One X back in 2017, and it really just caught me off guard. I mean, I was playing the hell out of that game for a while, and I'll just play my music, chill out, and enjoy some Forza. Along with being a stunning game, it's a blast to play, and mind you, sim racers are usually harder to get into, but the fact that Forza Motorsport caught me like that, completely worth being on my favorite games of the generation. Next up was the 2019 game of the year, Gears 5. The Gears series is obviously legendary, especially if you're an Xbox guy like me. Gears 5, that game just did everything right. Has more content than ever. Kate became the main character over JD, which was fun because if you played Gears 4, her story pretty much took over towards the end of that campaign anyway. But you got the largest campaign ever. The game is just an absolutely blast to play. I mean, you got Escape, Horde. I'm a huge Horde fan when it comes to my Gears. So you got Horde and the campaign and the multiplayer. It's still being supported. We're going to get some new campaign for the Xbox Series X. Just another great game that deserved it. And at number 12, I had Quantum Break. It's a real shame we're not going to get a Quantum Break 2, because Quantum Break, along with being one of the best looking games this generation, the game, for it to be so story focused, is so good. The gameplay is where it shines the most, though. The time manipulation gameplay is so unique, and the powers were so cool that I just had a blast all the way through. And for me, I don't know how about y'all, if y'all played it once, but I played it twice because, you'll make decisions. And the decisions weren't major, but they did change up the story enough to add its own flair when you would go back and play. Jack Joyce was a great protagonist. Um, and Quantum Break is my favorite Remedy game, more so than Control and Alan Wake. At number 11, you got my favorite fighting game, and that's Injustice 2. I am a massive DC fan. Love my DC comics. So the fact that somehow Injustice 2 was even better than the first Injustice, the story was better. They instead of it focused on its own universe more and more. And really, and then not only that, it touched on a lot of really interesting themes. The game was a lot of fun. Fighting games are hard as hell to master. You know, if there's any gaming community I respect the hell out of, it's the fighting community, because parrying and frame data and all that stuff, that shit is tough to master. So it's a tough game if you're going to be really good, but it's still a hell of a lot of fun. Good, and for us DC fans, just so great. You know, I would love a big budget game, and that's why Gotham Knights is my most anticipated game for 2021, because one of my favorite superheroes, Nightwing. I could finally play as him. Dick Grayson, Nightwing, because in Injustice 2 you had Damian Wayne and all that stuff. But yeah, Injustice 2, favorite fighter this generation. And it's based off my favorite fighting game ever of Mortal Kombat, the fighting series. So that's why that's there. And as we hit the top 10, number 10 is Mafia 3. Mafia 3, that was probably my favorite game of 2016. I really like Lincoln Clay as the main protagonist. I had a lot of fun. I mean, for the love of God, you get to kill clan members in the game. How many games let you do that? The story was great. Taking over their version of New Orleans, New Bordeaux was great. Seeing Vito again was great. The DLCs were a lot of fun. I think very highly of the game. I know for a lot of people it could have been repetitive, especially the way that you would take over the city, but I didn't mind it. I had a blast the whole way through, and enough to make my top 10. All right, and number 9, Crackdown 3. Yeah, when you talk about a game that didn't review well that I absolutely love and I'll defend to this day, it's Crackdown 3. Crackdown 3 to me is the epitome of everything I love in video games. It's this fun open world with crazy guns. It's not trying to be overly complicated. It's like here, choose your character, have fun. And I did, and that's exactly what I did. And I played on legendary difficulty, and it was a absolute blast. When I think of just a game that just cherishes how fun it is, this is one of those games. And you'll hear of other games that are like that, and you see what I like. I'm a big fan of these open world games and RPGs, two of my favorite genres. So no surprise that I really gravitated towards Crackdown. All right, at number 8, I got Batman Arkham Knight. As I said, huge DC fan, huge Batman fan. And Batman Arkham Knight is my favorite of Arkham games. I know most people would say City, but the way I see it, you had Arkham Asylum, which started it, and it was a huge youth influence on games, especially how a lot of games implemented that style of gameplay, even to this day. Arkham City, had the best story. Arkham Origins had the best boss battles. Arkham Knight, to me, just tied everything so well together. I remember people complaining about the Batmobile gameplay, but I loved the Batmobile in the game. Everything about it, to me, was just so refined. At some point you get like this mechanized bat suit, and then you're damn near Superman with in like some Superman armor as Batman at some point. The gear is better than ever, and it's like everything just hit this boiling point with the story. but mostly it was just how fun the game and gameplay was. With each Batman game, you felt more and more like Batman, and this was a great send off to me. At number 7, we got State of Decay 2. That's another game that I just absolutely love. When it came out in 2018, I was addicted to that game because the gameplay loop is so fun, right? And they add content all the time. I mean, they're still adding content to State of Decay 2. I can't wait for State of Decay 3 because that game was just, man, was that game fun. It was addictingly fun, and any game like that deserves it. At number 6 and number 5, got back to back in the same series. Rise of the Tomb Raider at 6, Shadow of the Tomb Raider at 5. I loved the modern Tomb Raider games. Lara Croft, she is such a grounded character that it's hard not to like her. And what I like about the modern Tomb Raider games is that she acknowledges everything. Like at some point, I remember in Rise of the Tomb Raider, she mentions this how she's getting way too used to killing. You know, this is a girl who just started out adventuring. Now, you know, she acknowledges the consequences of her actions. And then with Shadow of the Tomb Raider, there was more emphasis on a lot of the adventuring and tomb raiding aspect. So I remember I ended up finding all the tombs, and DLC was so much fun. And the gameplay in both just absolutely great. I played both on the hardest difficulty, and it was just so damn fun. Lara is a fantastic protagonist, arguably one of the best in gaming, and there's a reason why both are back to back at 6 and 5 respectively. And it's a series that I felt just kept getting better. And both, and if you played on Xbox One X, man, those games just look fantastic.
Hey, are you okay?
I'm making everything worse.
You're not. Hey, you're not.
At number 4, I got Assassin's Creed Origins. With my favorite assassin in the whole series, Bayek. This game blew me away. It was the first game I played on my Xbox One X back in 2017. And it was the reboot the Assassin's Creed franchise needed. For most people would say like Black Flag is the best one, or the Ezio games are, but to me it was the last two, Origins and Odyssey. And Origins was brilliant to me. It's a game that I've put over 100 hours in for a reason. And then it added the RPG elements. I would say Odyssey is more full-on RPG, while this game, you know, a lot of games had that trend this generation where it would have RPG elements but wasn't really an RPG. And I felt like Assassin's Creed Origins crossed that line into being RPG or not at times, but it was still just a fantastic game. And I've made it clear in other videos how Assassin's Creed is one of my favorite series, and it's games like this is why. And another favorite series of mine is Mass Effect. And this is another game where it didn't review well, but I absolutely loved it. Mass Effect Andromeda is my number 3 favorite game this generation. And it has the best gameplay and combat in this series, and I would debate anybody on that. Because it was less cover shooter and more you had to stay on your toes and feet, and any type of build you did was unique. And for me, fun. That's why you hear me say a lot in this video. Fun. It was fun. Fun. When I have fun with the game, it really does. Just work with me a lot. And Mass Effect Andromeda was that. It was a fantastic RPG. I put so many hours into. I did my depth build. I was killing with that lance throw singularity combination. I did all the side missions and all the loyalty missions. You know, this it did have the weakest story in the series. Nobody's debating that. I'm not going to even try to. But the strength in its gameplay and combat is why I liked it. It's why I love it. I straight up love the game. And at number 2 is Assassin's Creed Odyssey. This game is as good as I say. It's a very long game, but you know this is when Assassin's Creed you just say it's flat out RPG. The game it's an RPG. I played as Cassandra personally, and I did a mostly Assassin's build. Now with it, you know you can't really do full Assassin because you know there are parts in the game where you need to have some warrior skills. But still, I did my Assassin's build. It became a juggernaut, especially towards the end. I was playing on Nightmare difficulty too. But yeah, Assassin's Creed Odyssey is, again, it was a game where I just put crazy hours into it, and it was incredibly fun. It's so long. I haven't even played the DLC yet, but I've heard some really good things about the DLC. But I'm just talking about the base game and there's so many memorable moments. The side missions, you know, they put a lot of effort into the side missions, which I enjoyed. So they would try to make it more than just pick up this or look for this fetch quest. You know, you'll meet like a kid and you'll have to help the kid or save somebody. The game was just absolutely excellent, man. And the number one game, my favorite game this generation. This game, after a rough time in my life when I first bought my Xbox One, this was the first game I played. This game is the epitome of fun, and that is Sunset Overdrive. I love Sunset Overdrive, man. I loved every second of the game. It's an open world style game. Again, your guns are pretty much like different powers, so each gun is very unique. Some more useful than other, and that's usually how it always is. For me, I liked a lot of the AoE style guns, you know, the area effect ones. This game is everything I love in gaming. It didn't take itself serious at all. It focused on fun, crazy gameplay, cool guns, some wacky customizations for your character. The voice actress, you know, she nailed her lines. She was very funny. The whole game is funny. Sunset Overdrive, it's a game that means a lot to me. Like as I said, it's the game that got me back into gaming. When I first bought my Xbox One, because I had a rough point, whether it being unemployed or working dead-end job. So when I finally got out of that hole, bought my first, with my first check, I bought the Xbox One. And this was the game that put that rocket on my back to get me back into gaming. And that's because it's a fantastic game. And it's my favorite game of the generation. So there it is, my 15 favorite games this gen. This list was incredibly hard because there are so many games, and there are games that I'm leaving off. And the reason why I don't really like doing lists, because sometimes I'll have that moment of, oh, that game, oh, that's right, I played that game, but I could tell you with certainty, Sunset Overdrive, my favorite game this gen.